Well, welcome everybody to another episode of the Customer Ed Nuggets podcast series. I'm independent learning tech analyst John Lay of Talented Learning, hosting today's show with special return guest Tamer Ali, founder of Authentic Learning Labs. Today, Tamer and I are going to talk about the reasons why customer education organizations want to or are forced to syndicate their content. But first, listeners and viewers, thanks again for tuning in and your interest to learn about all things customer education, from business case to LMS, learning systems, online content, and more, all in 10-minute or less video nuggets. Feel free to binge. All right, let's get going. For some grounding, what is content syndication? Well, actually, it goes well back in history before customer education for sure. And it's the process of republishing your content on other websites or platforms or locations to reach a larger audience. Podcasts, magazines, television shows are all syndicated all around the world every day, and they have been for a long time. But what is customer syndication in customer education? What type of content is syndicated and why? Why do customer education organizations want to deal with that in the first place? Why can't everybody just come to their LMS and take the content and be done with it? Well, there's a lot of business reasons why. And that's what forces the decision for organizations to tackle syndication and really try to reap the benefits of it. But in a nutshell, every customer ed organization is either training individuals or organizations with individuals as their clients. And those clients and their learners can really be located anywhere, doing anything. And so what's important is that the learning and those learners meet somewhere at the point of need in the flow of work, so that those learners can get the skills they need to be able to achieve what they need to do and reach success with any given product or services. It sounds a little simple, but that's what it is. And syndication is the process that really lets the end learner and that content meet at the point of need. It's great to have you back on the Customer Ed Nugget podcast, Tamer. It's fantastic to have you here.
Thank you,
Thanks for
John.
coming.
It's great to be here.
You and I have been talking about learning content syndication for a long time, mainly because your organization helps other organizations figure it out as one of the things that you do, of course. And you've been my go-to source on syndication information and innovation here for the last few years as the whole concept has been evolving. And so you're the perfect guest, of course, for today. And with that in mind, why don't you take the number one reason why customer education organizations like to syndicate their content? Go ahead, Tamer.
Thanks for your kind words. It's always great to see you and talk. The big one, these organizations are commercial companies or even nonprofits that they're selling and they're publishing content, and their customers are out there and they're obviously looking for the big customers like anybody else. And typically the bigger customers want it their way, like anything else in any business, right? So wanting their way, I think that's what a logo from someone or a motto from some company is. Wanting their way is typically having it in their access in their LMS. So the bigger customers are wanting it in the control of their walled garden, which poses a problem for some companies because they don't have the capabilities or they don't have the access to the tools to allow them to give the content access without giving up the content itself. So that's the big challenge. And as people move up market, it becomes a bigger challenge.
Thanks, Tamer. Without a doubt, big customers having their own LMS and not wanting to send their learners to a bunch of different sites, different LMSs, is the number one reason why customer education organizations are compelled to share their content and syndicate their content out. But there's also just regular business reasons of extended reach, visibility, and monetization reasons. So by taking your content, especially if content's for sale, like certifications and things like that, and putting it in different avenues where you have a different set of learners, a different audience that would otherwise not engage with your content. And that could be parallel or complementary industries. That could be putting it in global locations that you don't have a reach for right now. It could be like putting it in the universities in K through 12 to build a student groundswell of skills and capabilities out in the industry that could be used later. Or it could be, putting it on LinkedIn Learning or Udemy or one of the other type of public aggregators so that you can generate and monetize that content in addition to extending your reach. So for those just basic reasons, the same reasons for that matter, while any industry and any type of content wants to be syndicated, holds true here in the learning industry and customer education industry. And with that, Tamer, why don't you take number three?
As we talked earlier about moving up market means you have a more mature landscape of systems architecture that you're working with an ecosystem. A lot of people love that word, right? You have a CRM in place where you're logging all the activity. You have some type of e-commerce. You have a website, and this doesn't even mean you're a big company. I mean, even middle-size and small companies are now able to. Those are approachable platforms that most organizations that are maturing and learning have, whether they're a publisher or a provider of education in some way. And in doing so, learning is much more of a an experience that has to happen in the place where it's needed and it's most relevant. That means it needs to be freed from the typical navigation scheme that people are used to when they go through corporate mandatory training. You can't do that when you're selling learning. It's well, you can, you're going to increase what they call friction and poor user experience. And for the increase of that UX and experience and the increase of retention and the quality of the experience, detaching the learning from the requirement to go, okay, first go to the lms.org and then enter your credentials. People want to
Mhm.
be able to be recognized as who they are, presented the content where they need to be, whether it's in Microsoft Teams or Slack or in a website, or they're a sales rep for a service provider, and it needs to be presented right when they make a sales call. Those things are facilitated by syndication and an API-centric model platform.
Wow. So putting learning into the flow of daily work.
Yeah.
We've heard it before, but this is what syndication means. I think a lot of people probably wouldn't even put that together. Well, thanks, Tamer. That was great.
Thank you,
Uh,
John.
it was great to have you here back again on the Customer Ed Nugget. And guess what, everyone? We're not done. Tamer's a regular guest here on the Customer Ed Nugget podcast, and we're coming back probably next month or so, in the next 2 months, and we'll continue this series on syndication. And we're going to talk about really the technology behind it and how to make it happen on the next one. So, listeners, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Talented Learning Customer Ed Nugget series. It was great to have you here, where you can learn about all things customer education, one bite at a time. Feel free to binge, and we'll see you on the next. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.